In terms of the key finding in this survey, with, of course, inflation very much a topic of discussion and decent returns in general for companies over the last 5 to 10 years, the key finding is that people across America of all sides of the political divide do think that wage rises are called for.
It is, and it's an important point that we hear repeatedly, but we continue to hear more urgency about it, which is that companies should be prioritizing paying workers a living wage, wages that do not require workers to rely on public assistance. We're also hearing from this survey that wage transparency is really important. People are not just looking for wages that cover, cover cost of living, but also are transparent about what those wages are, so that as workers, as consumers, people know which companies are paying what amounts. They're also saying that they see the business case for investing in workers through their wages. They're saying that they, as consumers, would pick a company, or a company has a competitive advantage, those that are paying high wages versus those that aren't, that the customer experience is better. And then the final thing that I think is really important to note is that across the political divide, across ideologies, people are very, very consistent about this. Americans are saying that, anywhere from the mid 70s up to low 90s, people are saying that this is a really important issue that should be prioritized. So despite the conversation we're having about a divided America, this is a very consistent issue that's important to pay attention to.
Would we have thought it traditionally to be a divisive issue? I mean, it's a topic that one can kind of understand crosses the political divide, that people should be paid enough to survive.
It's true. And yet we do talk a lot, one, in the broad sense about how Americans are really divided on every issue. And often this one takes on a political hue, whether it's talking about a minimum wage or something else. But I think more importantly, companies are navigating a lot right now, as we know, everything from supply chain disruptions to how to respond to climate, to how to respond to worker demands and consumer demands. And this topic in particular shows a way forward for companies that are looking at how to navigate it, that prioritizing and talking about that prioritization of workers from paying well, which, we know is often not true. According to past estimates that Just Capital has done, about 50% of workers in the Russell 1000 don't make a living wage. And so despite this cross sort of political expectation of Americans, we know there's a, pretty significant gap. And so that's something to just be thinking about as a business and finance leader when we talk about corporate success, that Americans believe that part of that success is our workers making enough to get by and get ahead every month.
What's the view, Alison, on buybacks that benefit shareholders versus bonuses or wage increases that benefit workers?
In the past, we didn't do anything in this survey, but we've done some recent polling, and it shows that people are fine with profits, and including in buyback and dividends and other sort of other expectations. But at the end of the day, the pie is not split well, is basically the way to think about it. So, we hear often that Americans believe and understand that companies should be making a profit and should be reinvesting that in their business, that's important for long-term growth. But what's also very important and more important to people is that they see that companies are investing in creating an environment where workers can support themselves, can also see opportunities for career advancement, and that the current weighting of that isn't correct. And so that really needs to be rebalanced.